people actually are. The IJAW are aboriginal, as we all know, to the Niger Delta, having been in the Delta for between 7,000 to 10,000 years. The period estimated to be the length of time of the formation of the Delta itself. Scholars have discovered that the Niger Delta itself is between 7,000 to 10,000 years. And that is the period that the IJAW have also been in the Delta. So we are clearly aboriginal to the Delta. From the writings of Professor IJAW, Professor K. Williamson, Professor Korobia, and my humble self, Olale et al., and several other scholars, it is known that there are different criteria by which the IJAW have identified themselves and by which they have become identified as IJAW. What are the criteria? And this takes me to answering the question at the same time of the homogeneity of the IJAW ethnic nationality. Accordingly, there is the first instance. In the first instance, the IJAW people of the central and western Niger Delta, the central and western IJAW land, who are IJAW by their traditions of origin, whose language and dialects are classified as IJAWed. They are Boy, Basan, Bomo, Ekeremo, Ipetiama, Barai, Iduwini, Kabowe, Kumbowe, Kolokma, Main, Ogboni, Olodiama East, West, Oyagri, Tarakri East and West, and Tumbo. This first group also includes the inland IJAW people, Iseni and Okodia and Oruma, who speak their own unique inland IJAW dialect. Second, there are the IJAW people who are originally IJAW but do not speak the IJAW language any longer. Who are they? In the Eastern Delta, the Indoki people of AMBAIOWEI, Azuogo, Anyama, Opunku. In the Imo River Valley, in the fringes of the Eastern Niger Delta. Then we have their boy, IJAW people in the Western Niger Delta. Their boy, IJAW people in the Western Niger Delta. They can only speak the language to the extent of the festivals of the deity. So they could pour the libation and speak in a language. Those things still exist in the festival language, but hardly understood by the people who speak. But thank God we still have residue of the language in the central Niger Delta, their brothers down this way. Then, of course, we have the third group of members of the IJAW ethnic nationality who have sworn and pledged allegiance to the IJAW ethnic nationality, who are originally non-IJAW speaking and are to a large extent of non-IJAW origin, to a large extent, but have nevertheless become members of the ethnic nationality by association and could, in some cases, also speak the IJAW language as a second language by association. They are classified linguistically as Edoid people language group, and those that ancestor in the profession, Professor K. Williamson, classified as Central Delta language group, whom we have decided, from Professor Korobia to myself, to classify as AMBAIOWEI, because the AMBAIOWEI is the largest speaker of that language. How does this relate to our icon? We are coming to it. Our icon promoted all these things that we're talking about, the IJAW identity. And so, talking about the Central Delta language group, the Edoid language group, and another group called the Delta Cross language group. Who are the Edoid? The Piatisa, the Sarama. Those clans of Bayelsa State, and the Udekama, the Degema, and the Ngeni clans of River State. They are the Edoid group. The Piatisa, however, for the Piatisa, who are one part of the group as I've mentioned, the following towns have traditions of IJAW origins. That was why I said when I was talking about the non-IJAW speaking people, I said to a large extent, some of them are of non-IJAW origin. So there are those who are of IJAW origin. Who are they? Amongst the Biatisa people, the following towns have traditions of IJAW origins. Onopa and Swale originated from Ekpetiama. Recently, I was in Swale in the house of the Highness, and I spoke with him, and I told them that I'm happy to be in the house of Swale, and they were wondering where I got the information from. Maybe they needed to re-echo where I'm coming from. So Swawari founded Swale, and that's the name Swale, Swawari, from Ekpetiama. Ikolo from Kolokma. Akenfa from Oruma. Yenagwa from Ogwabiri in Oporoma clan. However, that none of the towns listed under this group of these towns I've mentioned, none of them speak the IJAW as first language, except some specific individuals and families. None of them speak the IJAW generally as first language, and those people got it from intermarriages and other contacts like trade contacts and so on. Then we have the Southwestern Edoid group, and with the dialects thereof. We have 6 Isoko towns, as is well known. We have Anibeze, we have Canaan, the same different spelling but same pronunciation with the Canaan of the Bible. We have Ibule Ogbokri, Abuato, Oshifo, Oshikerike, as well as the Urobo-speaking town of Ofoni, all in the Sabama local government area of Bayelsa State. The Ofoni, of course, are IJAW and Urobo, of IJAW and Urobo descent, as well known by their ancestry. Then the Central Delta group of languages and people comprises the Ogbea, the Abureni or Mini. And then, of course, you have those clusters there, the Ogbea, the Abureni or Mini in Bayelsa State. Then we have the Abua, Odua, the Agurum no Agum, the people we call Bukuma, close to Tumbia there in River State. And the Oblum, Abulome, Abloma, and the Okpogolo, Ochiche in the Eche area of River State. They are all IJAW people, IJAW by affiliation, by association, and by pledging one loyalty to one Congress, but their language is very different, markedly different. They all come under that Ogbioid group of languages. And so when the Ogbia say Tue, the man in Bukuma will say Tu, is the same thing. Tu, Tue, no difference. Then there is the Andoni people of River State and Akwa Ibom State. Of course, it is well known that they speak a language. Languages have families, as we well know. They speak a language that is called Delta Cross. That's the Andoni language, resembling Efik and Ibibio language in intonation. And then the Ibenom speak the Lower Cross Ibibio language. So we also have those our brothers there, just trying to show the differences that exist, which will dovetail into the cleavages that our icon, Chief Dr. AMBAIOWEI, fought to resist, that there shouldn't be cleavages, it should be one house as one IJAW ethnic nationality. We shall come to that. Thank you. As early as the 14th century, the Portuguese writer, now we are going abroad. The boat has now sailed, is leaving us now, is going abroad. To tell, but we are not going abroad, we won't cross the Atlantic boundaries. We will be within our boundaries. The white people came and they said they discovered us. They said, you discovered us. We are IJAW people who have been here all the time. You came, we are the ones discovering you. So those who came and claimed to discover us want to talk about what they wrote about us, because they had the art of writing. We didn't have the art of writing. We had another form of writing called oral tradition, transmitting history from generation to generation by word of mouth. And so they wrote about us. The first that I will talk about is way back in the 16th century, in 1508. He published a book, Esmeraldo de Situ Opis. That book, translated into English, the Latin title, is Emerald on the Geography of the Globe. In that book, he visited the Bonny Coast, and he said he met a people called Jos. If a white man in the 16th century identified the Bonny as Jos, as IJAW, because he couldn't mention IJAW, when he asked them, who are you? They said they are Jos, IJAW. And then he said, IJAW, Jos. So if he could say so at that time, then I wonder why there should be cleavages. We'll come to that. And then the second writer is Jean Babot. He was a French agent during the era of the slave trade in the 17th century. What did he do? He also wrote about the trade in the Calabari area. Major Arthur Jean Leonard was another person. He wrote the book titled The Lower Niger and Its Tribes in 1906. And he said, in the triangle formed by the Non and Ganagana River, the Ganagana River is the Focados. Also outside it, to a large extent, both the eastward and westward dwell the IJAW, the most important tribe in the lower Niger Delta, and indeed, after the Igbo, in the whole southern Nigeria. And so when we say we are the fourth largest, nobody should dispute us. I see people writing and posting all sorts of things. They are joking because these are timeless records that have existed before this era of PDP and APC and Labour Party. The British colonial author Percy Amory Talbot, he wrote in 1932, he says the IJAW people inhabit practically the whole coast, some 250 miles in length, stretching between the Ibibio and Yoruba. The Niger Delta, therefore, is occupied by these strange people, a survivor from the dim past, beyond the dawn of history, whose language and customs are distinct from those of their neighbors, and without a trace of any tradition of a time before they were driven into the region. Some of the things he said are simply derogatory. I wish I can find him, but he is long gone. We have started replying him already. But he has given us credit that we inhabit the entire length of the Delta, 250 miles from Ibibio to Yoruba. That is from Akwa Ibom to Arugo. He was very correct in that regard. But to say that we do not know where we are coming from and so on, those are derogatory. The British are fond of doing that. Stop it. Back in antiquity, thousands of years before any European ever visited our coast, the IJAW people across the Delta understood their migrational history and kept in touch with their kids and kin. So it wasn't the white men that will tell us who we are, but actually what they wrote has some things that give us credit and credence as an ethnic nationality with pride. What our icon promoted in the course of his life, as we shall see shortly. Our fathers, our ancestors attended coronation ceremonies when they migrate to any place. It is well known to every one of us, I believe, and I know, that they always paid sworn allegiance to the place from which they migrated. When there is a festival, they attend. When there is coronation, they attend. And so let's look at some of them, please. For instance, the Boni or Ibani IJAW understood that they have historic ties with the Okoloba Salagiri. And so in Okoloba, you have Ibangiri. And the Ibani people are called by the Okoloba people where they migrated from. They say, Abadi Okoloba. I grew up hearing Okoloba Tori Bangam, a song in my hometown of Neme. So that's the Okoloba Tori we are referring to. Okoloba Okuama, Boni. And that is where it came from. They are aware, and they kept that tie up to today. I believe they are still keeping it. Okochiri, Okobri, migrated from Amasoma. That is also well known in history. That's in Okreka, the mainland. And then, of course, the Nembe tell traditions of migration from Obiama in the central delta. We tell those traditions in Nembe, the Nembe too. Then Tombia in Kalabari Kingdom tells the tradition of Tombia Ekpetiama, Zionist King Otkotekere, with God rest his soul also. He was there, I was in the palace writing his biography, and somebody just walked in and said, I came from Tombia in Rivers State. This is our ancestral home, and I came to see. Of course, as a historian, it's natural, I knew, but it was fascinating to see somebody from that place who came, and they have always been coming. And when they also had crisis, he was also making some arbitration over there. So they know, we know our ancestry, we know where we have come from, and so on. The examples can go on and on. Let's talk about the Piatisa. The Ogwabri people know that the Yenagwa people, Yenagwa, the land of Ogwa, are from Ogwabri. They have emerged as a people, but the ancestry is still there. The Central Niger Delta, therefore, has been established as a major center of dispersal. Here we are now. This Wilberforce Island, named after John Wilberforce, has been a watershed of IJAW migrations and immigration and so on over the thousands of years. However, besides the eastward migration, the IJAW who migrated westward in the Western Niger Delta from the Central Delta have also kept in touch with their relatives in the homeland. That is from this Central Delta to the Western Delta. Who are they? Bomadi, from Bomadi, Leketiama. That is one key example. So despite the close affinities, the individual kingdoms and towns, especially in the Eastern Delta, have maintained a sort of identity over the years until the establishing of the INC. They maintained identity. And all those identities were maintained. And so everybody expressed himself in his own identity until the IJAW National Congress was formed. That takes me to this part of the lecture which says, forging a common IJAW identity towards state creation. Because state creation was a major phenomenon, a major event in history, or major events in history that brought about IJAW unity and identity. And our icon, SIR.CHIEF Dr. AMBAIOWEI, was a champion, as is well known, of state creation. We are coming to his roots. So the efforts towards a common IJAW identity began on three memorable fronts. First was the IJAW quest for self-actualization within the old Eastern, Western, and Midwestern region. Our fathers began, Chief Wekezi, Chief Nabena, Chief Isombodo, the names are all there. They began this struggle to see how they could be excised from the old Eastern region, from the old Western region, and after 1963, from the Midwestern region. The second memorable front was a reawakening created by writings of two early indigenous IJAW authors, whose writing gave impetus to the political movements by Chief Aro Dababrie and later Mr. Isaac Buru. Who are these authors? Simon Onwonaru, Captain Onwonaru's father, and Reverend George Amangala, the father of Captain Amangala, after whom the street in Port Harcourt is named. These two authors wrote books that classified the IJAW people across the Niger Delta and made us know early on when they wrote in the early part of the 19th century, the 20th century, that everyone, virtually all of us, apart from our Igbo and Ikwere and Eche neighbors and Ogoni neighbors, all of us have one way or the other IJAW people, either by our affiliation or by our language, even though you do not say bo for come or move for go. Even though you say yo or ta, or you say tue or gie, you have one link or the other, one way or the other, for the most part. And then beyond that, the political terrain in Nigeria brought all of us under that umbrella. They started writing and classifying us as IJAW, and so creating that awareness even for those who were in politics and those who were in armed struggle, like Major Isaac Buru. The most decisive movement towards forging IJAW identity began by the All IJAW Conference in Bomodi in Western Delta in 1942, Onitsha in 1944, the IJAW Union meeting in Patani 1949, River State Congress 1953, River State Chiefs and People's Conference 1956, the IJAW State Union 1964, the Niger Delta Movement 1979 to 83. In fact, King His Majesty Mingi X of blessed memory was a chairman of the Rivers Chiefs and People's Conference at some point. And His Majesty King Benwari was also very active in the Rivers Chiefs and People's Conference. And many others, I will soon start mentioning names. And so they met in all these groups throughout this period in the early part of the 20th century, all trying to work towards the actualization of IJAW freedom and progress. And their effort paid off handsomely when in 1947, the Rivers Province was created out of the Eastern Nigeria province, and they had their self-actualization, 1947. These and other IJAW unification movements led to the creation by the colonial authorities, as I've said, of the Rivers Province, which was almost entirely IJAW. In fact, we can confidently say that it was more than 70% IJAW. And they kept pressing on until in 1967, Rivers State was created. And Rivers State itself, more than 70% IJAW. And by 1976, some will say 75, 76, Sakama local government area left the Western Delta and joined Rivers State. And so with that movement of Sakama to Rivers State, the IJAW became even larger in Rivers State. All the above efforts at a definitive IJAW national identity and self-actualization during the 2 decades leading to Nigeria's independence were carried out by evidently outstanding core of IJAW sons and daughters in their 20s and 30s. They were young men. Chief Harold Dababrie, Chief Ibi Okoya of Ipetama, Harold Dababrie of Boni, His Royal Majesty King Francis Osamade Alagwa Mingite, Advention of Ugbomabri Nembe of Bembe, His Royal Majesty King Benjamin Wari Pasambri Eastern IJAW. Others were Chief S.N. Dikibo Okrika, AIG retired Hausa Brezibi Ojobo Western IJAW, Chief Melford Obieno Kilo Ogbea, Chief Naitri Zombodo Agberi Western IJAW, Chief Lawrence Raybudu Mabena Aduku Western IJAW, Chief P.A. George Wekezi, Chief Wenike Briggs Calabari, Chief Nicholas Abo Franco Bigo and Giama Southern IJAW His Royal Highness, Dr. IJN Fubesma Okeka, Barrister Arupiji Okara Ikpetema Northern IJAW His Royal Majesty later, Chief GBC Otoko Afandon Eastern Delta, Eastern IJAW. With regards to the creation of Bayelsa State, the narrative shall be incomplete. Now we are bringing it down to our icon. The narrative will be incomplete without telling the role of personalities like SIR.CHIEF Dr. AMBAIOWEI. He and a host of patriotic sons and daughters were frontline in organizing the struggle for state creation through the years, as we shall subsequently highlight. Celebrated among such compatriots, as he himself mentioned, Comrade T.K. Oguriba, who was president of Mosien, Chief Joshua Fumudo, president of the IJAW National Congress, Chief H.E., His Excellency, Chief Nelford Okilo, Rear Admiral Festus Tebeni, Chief Tana Tete, Commodore Victor Ombo, Commodore W.G. Yanga, Senator Mata Isofa, Nicolas Abao, Franco Bigo, Chief Francis Endeli, who hosted several Bayelsa forum meetings in the years leading on to the creation of Bayelsa State. The names are many. I'll endeavor to just run through if I can, but I'm also conscious of the time because we still have some. The boat is still out on the river, and we still have some distance to travel. Professor Tona Esong, Chief Yomo Gabis, Sir Gabriel Lambert Radri, Chief Francis Okola, Chief Edward Azobo, Engineer Lumoypre Wills, Chief F.J. Williams, Lavije Keme, Ambassador Lawrence Ekebo, His Royal Majesty King Igbogu, His Royal Majesty King Agaba, King Papa Okoya, Jones Ere, C.B. Agulata, Orianzi, Igbaga. These are the colleagues, friends, associates of our icon. And we will go to his specific roles very soon. Chief M.Y. Warrington, A.A. Taribi, Chief Obio Owotrofa, Chief J.T. Amami Bubai, Professor Kim Sokoko. Others were Fred Agugu, Mr. Fred Agugu Elder, Chief Simon Abagdermo, Chief John Kojo Bambaefa, Chief Eli Okuta, Professor Bambaefa, Dr. Lovett Kigia is here, Engineer Charles Ambaowe, Mr. Rollins Eben-Smith, Chief Martin Sagbede, Chief Super Dikifa Parish, Ngozu Keme, Prince Emo, Era of Blessed Memory, Prince Kanga, Lieutenant Colonel Inogoba, Captain Kennedy Barwene, and many others, too numerous to mention. The names are there, and the Bayelsa State Archive too has archived them properly. Indeed, the roles of all the founding fathers listed above in giving the IJAW nationality the identity that it enjoys today have been ingrained in the sands of time by the creation of two states, Rivers and Bayelsa states. The former Rivers State, 56 years old, the latter Bayelsa, 27 years old, and making reasonable progress, I must say. What then are the unique roles of SIR.CHIEF Dr. AMBAIOWEI? What are his roles that he played to make the IJAW identity what it is? But before I go to those roles, I'd like to mention some more things about the way the IJAW identity is being fought against. Somebody came to my office, and when I told him, I said, "Are you IJAW?" He said, "No, I'm not IJAW, I'm a P." But go and ask him, maybe he's from Ikolo. Go and ask him, maybe he's from one of those communities, Yenagua. And he refuted it and vehemently too. Our youth should stop such things. Either grandmother somewhere, like me, my great-grandfather from Okodi, my mother, her ancestors also extend all the way to Calabarecola. Where am I going to run to? And then you are not IJAW. Even if you're not related to IJAW by any means, one way or the other, check. Maybe his wife is related. He's giving back to IJAW children. I'm not IJAW. Where are you going to be? In this Nigeria that is so incredible. When you are in Lagos, they say we are all Igbos. And now we are pushing forward. 1991, the National Congress started. IJAW is pushing forward. Somebody is bold to say he is not IJAW. If you are not IJAW, where will you be? A dot inside the ocean that we are traveling on this afternoon? That is the question that people must answer. My fathers and mothers, my elders, my comrades, my colleagues and friends, that question, we cannot beg it too far. That takes me to talking about the cleavages a bit, and then I run on to our fathers and our icons part in what he did personally in the collectivity of people that brought IJAW to where it is today. What are the cleavages? That common identity. It is well-known historical fact, as we had already stated, that prior to the founding of the IJAW National Congress, each of the kingdoms, clans, especially in the Eastern Delta, had already mentioned that constitute the Congress, have expressed their respective identities. The Eastern kingdoms of Nembe, Kalabari, Okreka, and Boni, for instance, had actually referred only to the clans of the Central and Western Delta as IJAW. So you hear remarks like, we are going to IJAW, traveling to IJAW. That was the remark until 1991 when we came together. But that does not also take away from the fact that people have written. But how much have those writings been read? And how much has it been ingrained in the psyche of the people is the question. And our icon did a lot to ensure that people have that consciousness of their IJAWness. And of course, the PRTSA situation too. Then the diversity of language, as I stated earlier, is also there. But the differences are language. And that makes some people feel that they are not IJAW, but we have all pledged to one Congress, and so we shall stand. Then the cleavages of diverse political affiliations. This is where our icon perhaps made the greatest contribution because of what he said, which I will read shortly. But what are those cleavages? The IJAW man has been divided because of politics, partisan politics. There are 3 major political parties now in Nigeria. By the recent development, one has added the People's Democratic Party, the All Progressives Congress, and most recently, the Labour Party gaining some momentum and other smaller parties. And that has divided us a lot because of the winner-takes-all mentality and the pulling down syndrome because of politics. Now, finally, SIR.CHIEF Dr. AMBAIOWEI and the search for a common IJAW identity. What were his contributions? We have talked about how the IJAW forged their identity. We have talked about the attempts at creating states which brought IJAW people together from the 1940s. Now the specific contributions, please, distinguished audience, fathers and mothers, elders of our land,